So this is session 4. Now today we are going to learn about circulatory system. In the last session also we have discussed about the the need of a circulatory system, the basic components of a circulatory system, the open and the closed circulatory system, right? So today we are going to continue from that point. Okay, so before starting today's part, I'll revise what we have learned in session 3, I mean about the circulatory system. Right, first one we learned why we need a circulatory system. Why animals, why organisms, they need something called circulatory system. Right, for example, now if we take simple organisms like cnidarians, flatworms, they don't have a specialized system for circulation. Right, something called circulatory system in their body, right? But the other animals, right, with the evolution, animals have developed they have developed different structures for their circulation, right? Okay, so there are two main needs. First one, for transportation of materials within the body. And the second thing is to exchange of materials with the external environment, right? These are the two needs, right? Two requirements of a circulatory system. Now, as I told you, simple animals like cnidarians and flatworms, they lack specialized system for circulation, right? In those organisms, transportation of materials and exchange of materials with the external environment takes place through their body surface by simple diffusion, right? They are made up of few number of cells. Okay, they don't have complex body like us. So in them, the materials exchange over their body surface through diffusion, and that is enough for their that is sufficient for their needs. Right? But with the evolution, as organisms increase in size and when they become more complex, right? The amount of materials that moving in and moving out of the body also increased, right? And the number of body cells also increased. So the distance that the materials have to transport within the body, that is also increased. So diffusion is not sufficient. Diffusion is not sufficient to transport that materials within the body, because diffusion it is efficient for short distance transportation, not for long distance, right? That's why circulatory system is evolved in organisms. Okay, so if they ask in the exam, you have to organize your answer like this. As organisms increase in size and complexity, right, the amount of materials moving in and out of the body also increases. The distance that the materials have to be transported within the body increased. Then many cells are not in direct contact with the external environment, right? Therefore, diffusion is not sufficient to transport materials within the body. Therefore, circulatory systems have evolved in organisms to exchange materials between cells and their immediate surrounding. හරිද එක්සෑම් එක ඇහුවොත් ওই විදිහට තමයි ඔයාගේ ආන්සර් එක ඕගනයිස් වෙන්න ඕනි. Then what are the substances that transport within the body? Right? First one, respiratory gases. You know, like oxygen, carbon dioxide, right? Then nutrients. Even in digestive system, you learn in the small intestine, right? In the small intestine, whatever the nutrients that we eat, right, that we taken up, is absorbed into our bloodstream, right? Okay, so nutrients like glucose, amino acid, fatty acids, vitamins. Then waste products, like waste products of metabolism, like urea, ammonia, like that. And after that, hormones and antibodies. So respiratory gases, nutrients, waste products of metabolism, hormones and antibodies, those are the substances that transport within the body. Then, what are the basic components of a circulatory system? Now, if we take a circulatory system, there are three basic components. A muscular pumping device should be there, a heart, right? Then there should be interconnected vessels. And third one is circulatory fluid, can be blood or hemolymph. Okay, then in the animal kingdom, there are two main circulatory systems. Open circulatory system and the closed circulatory system, right? Open and closed circulatory system. In the open circulatory system, that day also we compare these two systems. Can you remember? So in an open circulatory system, here the thing is circulatory fluid, it is called hemolymph, right? It bathes the tissues and organs directly, right? Now you can see there's a heart. It pumps that circulatory fluid into these vessels, interconnected vessels. But in here, right, can you see those vessels are open? නේද? මොකද වෙන්නේ එහෙනම්? මේ vessels වලින් දෙන hemolymph ටික කෙලින්ම they mix with the body fluid, tissue fluid or interstitial fluid, right? So like in the interstitial fluid, body cells are present. Body cells තියෙන්නේ මොකේද? අර interstitial fluid එකේ බැහැලා තියෙන්නේ. එහෙනම් මේ hemolymph ටිකත් interstitial fluid එකට බහිනවා කියන්නේ මේ hemolymph වල ගේන nutrients, ඒ ගේන materials කෙලිම body cells ගාවට අරන් ගිහිල්ලා ඒවත් එක්ක මොකද්ද කරගන්න පුළුවන්? exchange කරගන්න ඒගොල්ලන්ට පුළුවන්. හරිද? ඊට පස්සේ body cells වලින් ඒගොල්ලෝ අරගන්න waste materials ඔක්කොම ටික අරගෙන ආපහු මේ vessels දිගේ heart එකට යනවා. right? අන්න ඒක තමයි open blood circulatory system එක වෙන්නේ. So there is no any distinction between the circulatory fluid and the interstitial fluid surrounding the cells. Okay? So chemical exchange occurs directly between the hemolymph and the body cells. Right? This kind of open circulatory system can be found in invertebrates like arthropoda and mollusk. Right? Like crabs, lobsters, clams, and snails. And the second one is closed circulatory system. Now, if we take vertebrates, all vertebrates, they have closed circulatory system. Other than vertebrates, invertebrates such as annelids, they also have closed blood circulatory system. Here in this blood circulatory system, circulatory fluid, it is called blood, and it is restricted to these vessels, right? And ඒකෙදි මොකද්ද මේ heart එකෙන් ඔන්න blood ටික pump කරනවා මේ vessels වලට අරන් ගිහිල්ලා මෙතන බලන්න මේ කෙලින්ම body cells වලට open වෙලා තියෙන කොහෙන්වත් මේක break වෙලා තියනවාද මේ system එක නෑ open වෙලා නෑ. So there is a distinction. The circulatory fluid, it is separated from the tissue fluid or interstitial fluid. හරිද? So chemical exchange occur between the body between blood and hemolymph. Then after that, between tissue fluid or interstitial fluid and body cells. මොකද කරන්නේ? blood වලින් hemolymph, ඒ කියන්නේ hemolymph and blood අතර chemical exchange එකක් වෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ අර interstitial fluid එක තියෙනවනේ. ඒකේ body cells තියෙනවනේ. ඒ දෙක අතර ආපහු chemical change එකක් වෙනවා. හිතන්න blood වලින් ගන්න nutrients ටික interstitial fluid එකට අර ගන්නවා. ඊපස්සේ interstitial fluid එක කරන්නේ ඒ ටික ගිහිල්ලා blood මේ body cells එක්ක exchange කර ගන්නවා. Right? Yes, so that's it. Now today we have to learn about single circulation and double circulation. Okay. Any doubts? Now I told you all vertebrates, they have closed circulatory system. In the closed circulatory system, there are three main vessels, right? Arteries, veins, and capillaries. මොනවද තියෙන්නේ? arteries, veins, capillaries. දැන් මොකද්ද කරලා තියෙන්නේ? ඇඟේ ඇතුලේ තියෙන නිකන් වතුර මේ line එක වගේ තියෙන circulatory fluid line එක. ඒකේ තියෙන බටවලට නම් තියෙනවා. බට ಜಾති තුනයි. මොනවද? arteries, veins and capillaries. දැන් මේ ඔක්කොගෙම fluid එක ගලන්නේ කොයි පැත්තටද? එකම direction එකට. හරිද? Within each type, okay, blood flows only in one direction. නැතුව නිකන් අර මේ phloem එකේ වගේ phloem sap එක වගේ දෙපැත්තට ඔළුව හැරිච්චත් ඒ ගලන්නේ නැහැ. එකම පැත්තකට තමයි ගලාගෙන යන්නේ. Okay? So what are arteries? Now here you can see like this red color vessel. It is called artery. Normally arteries, they carry blood from the heart to the organs. Heart එකේ ඉඳන් අනිත් organs වලට blood අරන් යන අයට අපි කියනවා arteries කියලා. තේරුණාද? ඊට පස්සේ arteries ටික ඇවිල්ලා තව අතු වලට බෙදලා යනවා. එහෙම ඉස්සෙල්ලා මේකෙන් බෙදෙන අත්තට අපි කියනවා arterioles. Right? Arterioles. ඊට පස්සේ arterioles කරන දැන් මේ පේනවා. Now this is the artery. Artery it carries blood from the heart. Then within the tissues, it divides into smaller vessels called arterioles. Right? These arterioles, they pass blood into these microscopic vessels. These microscopic vessels, they are called capillaries. ඒගොල්ලෝ microscopic චූටි ඒවා. හරිද? ඒවට අපි කියනවා capillaries කියලා. හරිද? And they are very thin and they have porous walls. Right? ඊළඟට මෙන්න මේ capillaries වල තමයි මොකද්ද? අර material exchange එක වෙන්නේ. නැතුව arterioles වලවත් artery වලවත් නෙමෙයි. හරිද? capillaries ගත්තහම ඒවා හරීම හීනි. ඒවා porous wall එකක් තියෙනවා. එතකොට ඒවා ගිහිල්ලා එක එක organs වල මොකද කරන්නේ? body tissues එක්ක cells එක්ක material exchange කරගන්නවා. right? හිතන්න මෙතන respiratory gases කියලා. මෙයාගෙන් ඔක්සිජන් එළියට දෙනවා. body cells වලින් carbon dioxide ඇතුළට ගන්නවා. ඊට පස්සේ ඔක්කොම waste materials ටික එකතු කරගෙන අර කුණු ජරා ලේ ටික තියෙන capillaries ටික මෙන්න මේ විදියට එකතු වෙනවා. එකතු වෙලා හදන එකට ඉස්සෙල්ලම අපි කියනවා venule කියලා. venules. venules ගොඩක් එකතු වෙලා මොනවද හදන්නේ? veins. These veins, they carry blood back towards the heart. හරිද? එතකොට මේ oxygenated පිරිසිදු ලේ heart එකෙන් organs වලට අරන් එන හින්දා artery අපි රතු පාටින් පෙන්නනවා. veins මොකද කරන්නේ? අර තියෙන deoxygenated ඒ කියන්නේ oxygen concentration එක අඩු කුණු පිරිච්ච ලේ අරගෙන heart එකට යන ඒවට vessels වලට අපි veins කියනවා. ඒවා අපි නිල් පාටින් තමයි පෙන්නන්නේ. හරිද? Okay? Right. So vertebrates, they all have closed circulatory system. In that closed circulatory system, there are three main types of vessels: arteries, veins, and capillaries. Or in all these blood vessels, they carry blood in the same direction. Arteries means the vessels which carry blood from the heart, right? And within the organs, what happened? These arteries, they branch into smaller arterioles. Then these arterioles, they pass blood into capillaries. Capillaries are very thin and they have porous walls. Material exchange takes place within the capillaries, right? So then capillaries, they converge into venules and venules converge into veins. Veins carry blood back towards the heart. Okay? Any doubts? Harida? Now here they have given, they have compared arteries, veins and capillaries. Now look at this one. Arteries. These are responsible for the transportation of blood from the heart to all parts of the body. Then veins, these vessels collect blood through capillaries and transport it towards the heart. Capillaries, these vessels connect arteries and veins. Then, all arteries carry oxygenated blood except pulmonary arteries. Pulmonary arteries කියන්නේ මොනවද? Pulmonary arteries තමයි මේ lungs වලට blood අරගෙන යන්නේ. හරිද? දැන් ඔය අපි ඉස්සරහට ඉගෙන ගන්නවා. දැන් ඔක්කොම deoxygenated blood veins වලින් heart එකට අරන් යනවනේ. ඊට පස්සේ ආයි heart එකෙන් මොකද කරන්නේ? ඒ bloods ටික blood එක lung වලට pump කරනවා. හරිද? heart එකේ ඉඳන් lungs වලට ගෙනියන හින්දා ඒ කියන්නේ heart එකේ ඉඳන් lungs කියන්නේ තව organ එකක්නේ. organ එකක් හින්දා එතනට ගෙනියන blood vessel එකේ හින්දා අපි ඒකට artery එකක් කියනවා. pulmonary artery කියනවා. හැබැයි ඒකේ තියෙන deoxygenated blood. Right? All arteries carry oxygenated blood except pulmonary arteries, which carry deoxygenated blood. Then all veins carry deoxygenated blood except pulmonary veins. Then capillaries, they carry mixed oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Third one, arteries have no valves in them except at the base of pulmonary trunk and aorta. In veins, valves are present, right? These valves, they prevent the backflow of blood. But in capillaries, no valves. Then in arteries, right, they have high blood pressure. Veins have low blood pressure. In capillaries, there is falling pressure in them. Next one. In arteries, waves of blood pressure or pulse due to heartbeat can be detected. But in veins, there is no pulse. In capillaries, there is no pulse, right? Anyway, like you don't have to study because these are not given in your resource book, right? But මෙතන දැන් artery එක හිතන්න cross sections තුනක් දුන්නා කියලා. Artery එකක් ගත්තාම it has a small bore and thick bore. එයාගේ අයි thick bore එකක් තියෙන මහත bore එකක් තියෙන මං කිව්වා එයාගේ pressure එක වැඩි. හරිද? එහෙනම් පොඩි හිලක් එක්ක මහත බිත්තියක් තියෙන එකනා තමයි artery එක. ඊට පස්සේ veins ගත්තාම ඒකේ pressure එක අඩුයි. ඒ හින්දා ඒකේ ලොකු හිලක් එක්ක හීනි බිත්තියක් තමයි තියෙන්නේ. Right? And even capillaries, they also have a large bore, right? And the wall is like their wall is porous. Wall like a porous, right? Now look at the lesson note. Vertebrates have a closed circulatory system where there are three main types of blood vessels: arteries, veins, and capillaries. Within each type, blood flows in only one direction. The blood vessels which carry blood from the heart to organs are called arteries. When these arteries branch into smaller vessels within organs, they are called arterioles. They pass blood to capillaries, which are microscopic vessels with thin and porous walls. These are the places where material exchange occurs between blood and interstitial fluid surrounding body cells through diffusion. Capillaries converge into venules and they converge into veins which carry blood back to the heart. Right. Now, next part, we are going to learn about single circulation and double circulation. Right. Single circulation. Single. එකයි. ඒ කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? During a complete circulation throughout the body. කියන්නේ ඇඟ පුරා circulation එකකදී heart එක හරහා එකපාරක් විතරක් blood flow එකක් වෙනවා නම් අන්න ඒකට අපි කියනවා අපි ඒකට කියනවා single circulation කියලා. මොකද්ද? In a complete circulation throughout the body, blood passes through the heart only once. That is the definition of single circulation. Right? එතකොට single circulation එකක් තියෙන සත්තු ඒ සත්තුන්ගේ heart එකේ තියෙන chambers දෙකයි. Now even like when you were in grade 10 11 you have learned about the structure of heart and you know in your heart there are 4 chambers නේ. As a left atria, left ventricle, right atria, right ventricle ඔය විදිහට chambers 4ක් තියෙනවා. මේ single circulation එකක් වෙන ණයට තියෙන්නේ මොනවද? Chambers දෙකයි. atrium ventricle කියලා විතරයි. ඒක left right කියලා බෙදිලා නැහැ. හරිද? Okay? Right. ඊළඟට දැන් මෙහෙම ඒවා තියෙන්නේ like found in bony fishes මාළුන්ගේ තමයි ගොඩක් වෙලාවට තියෙන්නේ. Right? Bony fishes and cartilaginous fishes. Right. දැන් මෙන්න මෙතනදී මෙහෙමයි වෙන්නේ. Now you can see like මේ පින්තූරේ බලන්න. මේ තියෙන මෙයාගේ heart එක. ventricles තියෙනවා, ventricle එක තියෙනවා, atrium එක තියෙනවා. හරිද? දැන් oxygen poor blood කොහෙන්ද එන්නේ? මෙන්න මේ body capillaries වලින් මෙහෙන් අරන් එනවා oxygen poor blood. Right? Oxygen poor blood, it enters into the atrium. Atrium එකට ඇතුල් වෙනවා. Atrium එකෙන් මොකද කරන්නේ? ඒ ටික පොම්ප කරනවා ventricles වලට. හරිද? ඊට පස්සේ ventricles they get contract and they pump that blood into the capillaries in the gills. Right? මේ gills මේ තියෙන්නේ lungs වල තියෙන capillary bed එක. මේ තියෙන්නේ body organs ඇතුලේ තියෙන capillary bed එක. එහෙනම් body organs වලින් ගේන්නේ මොනවද? අර පාවිච්චි කරපු blood. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒවේ oxygen අඩුයි. carbon dioxide වැඩි. අපි ඒවට කියනවා deoxygenated blood කියලා. ඒ bloods ටික ඉස්සෙල්ලාම atrium එකට ගේනවා. atrium එකෙන් ventricle එකට යනවා. ventricle එකෙන් මොකද කරන්නේ? It pump into the capillaries in the gills. Right? ඊළඟට gills වලදී මොකද වෙන්නේ? ඒකට අර deoxygenated blood වලට ඒකේ තියෙන carbon dioxide ටික අයින් වෙලා ඒකට oxygen ටික එනවා. හරිද? ඒ කියන්නේ respiration මෙතන. Right? Respiratory gases exchange වෙනවා gills වල. Right? In that capillary bed. ඊළඟට ආපහු දැන් මෙතනින් මෙහෙට අරන් එන්නේ මොනවද? මෙතනින් මෙහෙට අරන් එන්නේ ආපහු oxygenated blood. Oxygenated blood ටික ආපහු body organs වලට අරන් යනවා. ඔන්න ඔක තමයි single circulation කියලා කියන්නේ. හරිද? Now here, this is the blood circulation of a fish. You can see the gill capillaries and the body capillaries. Right? Blue color ones are the veins. Right? They carry oxygen poor blood. Here you can see the heart with two atria, two chambers, atrium and ventricle. Right? Okay. Single circulation. During single circulation, in a complete circulation throughout the entire body, blood passes through the heart only once. During single circulation, in a complete circulation through the entire body, blood passes through the heart only once. In animals that demonstrate single circulation possess two chambers in the heart. They are atrium and ventricle. During a single circulation, the oxygen poor blood returning from the body enters atrium and passes into the ventricle. Then the ventricle is contracted, blood is pumped into the capillary bed in the gills. They are gas exchange. Gills ඔගොල්ලෝ ඉගෙන ගත්ත internal external gills කියලා නේද? නෑ ඒක respiratory system එකේ තියෙන ඉස්සරහට ඉගෙන ගමු. There are gas exchange occur between the capillaries and the external environment. The oxygen is diffused into the blood while carbon dioxide is removed from the blood. Next, the oxygen-enriched blood circulates throughout the body and reaches the body cells through the body capillaries. Example, bony fishes, cartilaginous fishes such as rays and sharks. හරිද? Again, single circulation. මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? During a complete circulation through the body, blood passes through the heart only once. Right? So the animals that have this kind of circulation, they have, like in their heart, there are only two chambers, one atrium, one ventricle, right? So the blood, deoxygenated blood, is pumped by the systemic capillaries or body capillaries into the atrium, right? Then atrium pass that deoxygenated blood into the ventricle. Ventricle pump blood into the gills. In the gills, what happened? These respiratory gases, they diffuse, right? And that blood, it get again oxygenated. Then oxygenated blood again give to where? It transport or it sends to systemic capillaries or body capillaries. So this is the single circulation. Next one, double circulation. Harida, double circulation is heart එක ගත්තාම now in the if we take fish, pisces, they have two chambers. ඊළඟට ඉන්න amphibian නේද? ඊළඟ group එක amphibians. Amphibians ලගේ heart එක ගත්තාම එතන සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම කියන්නේ heart එක there are 3 chambers, right? But then if we take reptiles, and now if we take mammals and birds, the heart is here, they have 3 chambers, but in reptiles, their heart it's not completely divided into left and right parts. But in mammals and birds, the heart is completely divided into 4 chambers. එතන 4 chambers වලට බෙදුණා කියන්නේ සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම ඒ කියන්නේ deoxygenated blood උයි oxygenated blood උයි heart එක ඇතුළේදී mix වෙන්නේ නැහැ. හරිද? Right. Double circulation. Here double circulation means in a complete circulation through the entire body, but blood passes through the heart twice. ඒ කියන්නේ මුළු ඇඟ පුරාම ඒ කියන්නේ circulation එක සම්පූර්ණ එකක් වෙනකොට අපේ heart එක හරහා දෙපාරක් blood ගිහින් තියෙනවා, circulate වෙලා තියෙනවා. හරිද? මේකෙදි එහෙම කියන්නේ double circulation එකක් ගත්තාම දැන් බලන්න මේ තුන්වෙනි diagram එක බලන්න. There are 2 separate systems, pulmonary system and systemic circuit, right? Pulmonary and systemic circuit කියලා දෙකක් තියෙනවා. Pulmonary circuit කියන්නේ ඔය lungs වල තියෙන එක. හරිද? Systemic කියන්නේ අනිත් body organs වලට blood ගෙනියන ඒ ටිකට. හරිද? Right. දැන් මේක තියෙන්නේ කොයි වගේ සත්තුන්ගේද? Amphibians ලගේ, reptiles, mammals and birds. හරිද? So now if we take here amphibians, they have 3 chambered heart. 3 chambered කියන මෙතන they have 2 atria and 1 ventricle. Atria දෙකයි ventricle එකයි. Reptiles ලගේ ගත්තාම එතනත් atria දෙකයි ventricle එක භාගයට තමයි බෙදලා තියෙන්නේ. හරිද? But in mammals and birds මම අර කලින් කිව්වා වගේ atria දෙකයි ventricle දෙකයි තියෙනවා. Right? It is completely divided into right and left side. Right? So this arrangement, it allows the complete separation of oxygen enriched and oxygen poor blood. Okay? So now I told you there are 2 circuits, systemic circuit and the pulmonary circuit. Systemic circuit එක මොකක් associate වෙලාද තියෙන්නේ? body organs associate කරගෙන ඉන්නේ. එහෙනම් body organs වලින් heart එකට අරන් එන්නේ මොන bloodද? ඔන්න මේගොල්ලෝ deoxygenated blood අරගෙන එනවා. හරිද? Deoxygenated blood මේ විදිහට අරගෙන එනවා heart එකට. කොහාට දැන් මේ ගෙනාවේ? heart එකේ atria එකට ගෙනාවා. Right? Into the right atrium. Right atrium එකෙන් මොකද කරන්නේ? right ventricle එකට මේ blood ටික pass කරනවා. right ventricle එකෙන් කරන්නේ pulmonary artery වලට blood ටික pass කරනවා. pulmonary artery කරන්නේ ওই ටික lung එහෙම නැත්නම් pulmonary circuit එකට අරගෙන යනවා. lungs වලට අරගෙන යනවා. හරිද? lungs වලින් මොකද කරන්නේ? එතන ඒක ආපහු ඒ blood oxygenated වෙනවා. oxygenated වෙච්ච blood pulmonary veins වලින් ආපහු heart එකට අරන් එනවා. ඒ අරන් එන්නේ කොයි පැත්තටද? left atria එකට. left atria එකෙන් ඊළඟට left ventricle එකට pass කරනවා. left ventricle එකෙන් කරන්නේ දැන් අපේ ගත්තොත් aorta එක. හරිද? aorta එකට දෙනවා. aorta එක කියන්නේ artery එකක්. එයා කරන්නේ systemic circuit එකට ආපහු blood අරන් ගිහිල්ලා ඒ කියන්නේ එක body organs වලට oxygenated blood දෙනවා. ඔන්න ඕක තමයි වෙන්නේ double circulation එකේ. හරිද? එතකොට මෙතන මොකද්ද වෙලා තියෙන්නේ? මෙතන oxygenated blood, deoxygenated කියන blood දෙක heart එක ඇතුළේදී mix වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Right? වෙන වෙනම ගෙනියනවා. හරිද? Right. Now we'll go through the lesson note. During double circulation, in a complete circulation through the entire body, blood passes through the heart twice. Such circulatory system consists of separate pulmonary and systemic circuit in which blood passes through the heart after completing each cycle. Amphibians, reptiles, aves can call the birds, mammals, right? They have this double circulation. Amphibians and most reptiles have three-chambered heart. Most reptiles කියන්නේ මෙතන crocodile ඇරෙන්න. කිඹුලා හරිද? උගේ heart එක වෙනම දැන් අපේ වගේ සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම හතරකට බෙදිලා තියෙන්නේ. එතකොට three-chambered heart කියන්නේ two atria and they have one ventricle. Birds and mammals, they have four-chambered heart, where heart is completely divided into left and right side. This arrangement allows the complete separation of oxygen-enriched and oxygen-poor blood. The oxygen-poor blood from systemic circulation flows to the right atrium of the heart and then to the right ventricle. Right ventricle pumps blood into the lungs. Oxygen-enriched blood from the lungs reaches the left atrium and passes to the left ventricle. The left ventricle pumps oxygen-enriched blood into the systemic circulation. Double circulation is more effective in supplying blood to all body organs and tissues, especially brain and muscles, due to higher pressure exerted by the heart in the systemic circulation. කියන්නේ ලොකු ප්‍රෙෂර් එකෙන් තමයි අර ඒවට එකෙන් බ්ලඩ් අරගෙන යන්නේ. අනිත් සිස්ටමික් සර්කියුලේෂන් එක මේ සිස්ටමික් සර්කිට් එකට. එහෙනම් මොකද වෙන්නේ? හොඳට ඒ කියන්නේ නිකන් හිතන්න ඔයගලන්ගේ වල හොඳ ටැංකියක් උඩ තියන්නේ ඇයි? තියලා එතන ලොකු ප්‍රෙෂර් එකක් ගන්න. ප්‍රෙෂර් එකක් අරන් හොඳට අනිත් ටැප් වලට ඔය ඔක්කොණ්ඩම වතුර හොඳට මේ ලොකු ප්‍රෙෂර් එකකින් අරගන්න. එතකොට මෙතන හાર્ට් එකේදී ලොකු ප්‍රෙෂර් එකකින් තමයි ඒවට එකට බ්ලඩ් දෙන්නේ. එහෙනම් එයා මොකද කරන්නේ? හොඳට අර බ්‍රේන්ස් වලට මසල්ස් වලට හොඳට බ්ලඩ් පම්ප් කරනවා. This in contrast to single circulation where blood flows under reduced pressure from the gas exchange organs to other organs. හරිද? එතකොට single circulation එකේ double circulation එකේ කතාව ඕක තමයි. Right? මෙතන එහෙනම් double circulation එකේ තියෙන advantage එක මොකද? It supply blood to all body organs and tissues, right? Effectively due to high pressure exerted by the heart. And the other thing is, right, this double circulation, this arrangement, it allows the complete separation of oxygen-enriched and oxygen-poor blood. Okay? Any doubts? Any doubts? ප්‍රශ්න මුකුත් තියනවද? Right. Now you have a small thing to do. Right? දැන් කියලා දුන්නානේ. Write down a question. Explain briefly about the organization of vertebrate circulatory system. Explain briefly about the organization of vertebrate circulatory system. Vertebrate circulatory system කිව්වා මේක මොකද්ද? Closed circulatory system එකක් තියෙන එක ಜಾති දෙකයි single and double circulation. So you have to include like in your answer it should be consists of like about those 3 types of vessels. Then single circulation, double circulation. Right? Yes, you have 10 minutes. Quickly write down the answer and send your answers to the group. Basic plan. Right. Basic plan of human blood circulatory system. Now here this is the heart. Right. You can see the 4 chamber. Right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle, and you can see the superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, right? Make it anterior and posterior, right? Then pulmonary vein, pulmonary artery, ඔය ටික පේනවා. හරි. Basic plan of human blood circulatory system. First thing is, you can see human heart. It is consist of consist of 4 chambers. What are the 4 chambers? Right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle. And the next thing is, there is a dual circuit. That means pulmonary circuit and the systemic circuit. They operate simultaneously. Right? What are the 2 circuits? Pulmonary circuit and systemic circuit. Here, pulmonary circuit, right? What is its function? It takes blood. It takes oxygen-poor blood to the respiratory surface. Right? What is the respiratory surface in human? The lungs. They take deoxygenated blood to the lungs and return oxygen-enriched blood back to the heart. ඒක තමයි pulmonary circuit එක. Systemic circuit means it supply oxygenated blood to the all organs of the body and tissues and return oxygen poor blood to the heart. මොකද්ද දැන් කිව්වේ? Circuits දෙකක් තියෙනවා. They work simultaneously. This pulmonary circuit, in the pulmonary circuit, right? It takes oxygen poor blood or deoxygenated blood from the heart to the lungs, to the respiratory surface, and return oxygen-enriched blood back to the heart. In the systemic circuit, it supplies oxygen-enriched blood to all organs and return oxygen-poor blood back to the heart. Right. Now here all these circuits, these 2 circuits, they are consist of arteries, veins, arterioles, venules, and capillaries, right? Capillary beds. Right. Now during the ventricular contraction, මේ heart එකේ ventricles contract වෙනකොට අපි ගමු right ventricle. When the right ventricle contract, what happened? It is connected to what? It is connected to this pulmonary arteries නේද? පේනවද? මේ තියෙන්නේ right ventricle එක. මේ number 1 කියලා තියෙන right ventricle එක. එයා මොකද කරන්නේ? එයාව contract වෙනවා. right? ඉතින් නිකන් එයාව මිරිකනවා. එතකොට මොකද වෙන්නේ? එයාව connect වෙලා තියෙන මේ pulmonary arteries වලට. නේද? දැන් එයාව contract වෙනවා නම් එයාගේ ඇතුලේ තියෙන blood එහෙනම් මොකද වෙන්නේ? නිකන් අර වතුර විදිනවා වගේ ටික ඔක්කොම pulmonary artery එකට යනවා. right? Pulmonary artery කොහටද blood අරන් යන්නේ? They take blood to the respiratory surface or lungs, right? So in the lungs, O2 is loaded into the blood by diffusion, right? මේ තියෙන capillary beds වල මේ තියෙන right lung එක, මේ තියෙන left lung එක. එතකොට මෙහෙට අරන් ගියාම මොකද වෙන්නේ? Oxygen මේ blood වලට load වෙනවා. By what? What is the method? By diffusion. ඊළඟට ආපහු මෙන්න මේ pulmonary veins වලින් මොකද කරන්නේ? මේ තියෙන left atrium එකට oxygenated blood අරන් එනවා. හරිද? So during the ventricular contraction, right ventricle, it pump deoxygenated blood into the pulmonary artery, right? Then in the lungs, oxygen is loaded into that deoxygenated blood. And carbon dioxide is unloaded. Okay? Then it brings, return that oxygenated blood into the left atrium. Right? Then next one, during the atrial contraction. Atria එක contract වෙනවා. එතකොට මොකද වෙන්නේ? This oxygen rich blood, ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් ඔන්න pulmonary vein එකෙන් atrium එකට ගෙන ආවේ. left atrium එක contract වෙනකොට මොකද වෙන්නේ? ඒ blood ටික ගිහිල්ලා left ventricle එකට වැටෙනවා. හරිද? Then during again the ventricular contraction, then left atrium එකේ oxygenated blood තියෙනවා නම් එයා ඒ blood ටික කොහාටද pass කරන්නේ? මෙන්න මේ aorta එකට pass කරනවා. මේ තියෙන aorta. මේ aorta එකට pass කරනවා. Right? ඊට පස්සේ aorta කියන එක නා ඉස්සෙල්ලාම branch වෙන්නේ මොකටද? Coronary arteries වලට. Coronary artery means the artery which supply blood to the heart muscle. Heart එකට blood supply කරන්නේ coronary arteries. Right? ඉස්සෙල්ලාම aorta එක බෙදලා යන්නේ coronary arteries වලට. ඊට පස්සේ aorta එක ආපහු branch වෙලා liver එකට, stomach, then lower limbs, right? ඔක්කොම abdominal organs and legs වලට blood අරගෙන යනවා. හරිද? ඊළඟට so in those in the capillary beds of those abdominal organs and legs, exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide takes place, right? Oxygen rich blood is diffused into the tissues and carbon dioxide rich blood diffuse into the blood capillaries. Then those blood capillaries, they rejoin and they form venules, right? Then venules rejoin to form veins, right? ඒගොල්ලෝ දැන් පහලින් එන්නේ මොනවද? පහලින් එන ඔක්කොම venules එකතු වෙලා එකක් හදනවා. Inferior vena cava, right? ඊට පස්සේ උඩින් එන, ඒ කියන්නේ head එකෙන් neck four limbs වලින් එන ඔක්කොම blood, ඒ කියන්නේ venules ටික එකතු වෙලා හදනවා superior vena cava කියන veins දෙක. ඒ veins දෙකෙන් මොකද කරන්නේ? Deoxygenated blood right atrium එකට අරගෙන එනවා. හරිද? ඔන්න ඕකයි basic plan එක කියලා කියන්නේ. Okay. If now human heart, it's a closed circulatory system. Here the heart, it is divided into 4 chambers, 2 atria, 2 ventricle, and there are 2 circuits that operate simultaneously: pulmonary circuit and the systemic circuit. Now, pulmonary circuit, it takes oxygen poor blood to the respiratory surfaces, right, and return oxygen-rich blood back to the heart. And the systemic circuit, it supply oxygen-enriched blood to all organs of the body and return oxygen-poor blood back to the heart. Now, these 2 circuits, each one is consist of arteries, arterioles, veins, venules, and capillary beds. Now, during ventricular contraction, what happened, right? This right ventricle, it pump blood into the pulmonary arteries, right? Right pulmonary artery and left pulmonary artery. They take that deoxygenated blood into the lung surface. In the lungs, right? Respiratory gases diffuse. That means oxygen get loaded into blood and carbon dioxide is unloaded from the blood. Then that oxygen-rich blood is bring back to the left atrium through the pulmonary vein. During atrial contraction, that blood is pumped into the left ventricle, right? Then again during the ventricular contraction, that oxygenated blood present in the left ventricle pump into the aorta. Aorta, it branch first into coronary arteries. Coronary arteries supply blood to the heart muscle, right? Then aorta further supplying it branch into several arterioles which supply blood to the forelimbs, upper limbs, then abdominal organs, right? Then within those organs, these arteries, they branch into arterioles and capillary beds, right? In the capillary beds, diffusion of gases takes place, right? Oxygen-rich blood diffuse into the body cells, right? Tissue fluid, and then Deoxygenated blood, right? Carbon dioxide rich blood is diffused into the blood capillaries. Those blood capillaries, they rejoin to form venules, right? Venules rejoin to form veins. Oxygen poor blood from the trunk and the hind limbs. ඒ කියන්නේ උඩ කොටසේ තියෙන ටික ඔක්කොම මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? sorry පහළ කොටසේ තියෙන ටික. ඒ කියන්නේ legs වල abdominal organs වල තියෙන blood ඒ කියන්නේ ඒ venules ටික ඔක්කොම එකතු වෙලා හදනවා vein එක inferior vena cava. හරිද? ඊළඟට උඩ කොටසේ ඒ කියන්නේ head, neck, forelimbs ඒවෙන් ඔක්කොම එන venules ටික එකතු වෙලා හදනවා superior vena cava. The superior vena cava and inferior vena cava, they return oxygen poor blood into the right atrium and pass into the right ventricle. Okay, that is the basic plan of human blood circulatory system. Any doubts? Any doubts? Hitushan? Hitushan, any doubts? Superior vena cava and inferior vena cava, right? Right, here. You mean about like posterior vena cava and anterior vena cava, ne? Yes, anterior vena cava and superior vena cava are same, right? Then inferior vena cava and posterior vena cava are same. But in the resource book, they have given superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. In the ever use karana. Now, I took this image from the Google. Okay? Harida. Right. Next one. Now, we'll go through the lesson note. The human heart consists of 4 chambers. There are 2 ventricles and 2 atria. There is a dual circuit which operates simultaneously. The pulmonary circuit takes oxygen poor blood to the respiratory surface. The lungs and returns the oxygen enriched blood back to the heart, while the systemic circuit, it supplies oxygen enriched blood to all organs and tissues in the body and return oxygen poor blood from organs and tissues back to the heart. In each circuit consists of major arteries, arterioles, capillary beds, venules, and veins, major veins. During ventricular contraction, the right ventricle pumps the oxygen-poor blood into the 2 lungs via the pulmonary arteries. Then in the lungs, O2 is loaded into the blood through diffusion, while carbon dioxide is unloaded from blood into the external environment. Right? Yes. Then, this process, right? What happened to that part? That slide is missing. Anyway, listen to me. I'm reading the lesson note. This process occurs in the capillary beds in the left and the right lung. Then oxygen-rich blood is transported into the left atria via the 2 pulmonary veins. During atrial contraction, this oxygen-rich blood is transported into the left ventricle. During ventricular contraction, oxygen-rich blood is pumped into the aorta. Through arteries, the aorta conveys this oxygen-rich blood throughout the body. First, the aorta branches into the coronary arteries, which supply blood into the heart muscle. Then the aorta branches into the arteries, arterioles, leading to capillary beds in the head and arms and the capillary beds in the abdominal organs and legs. The exchange of gases occurs in the capillary beds where oxygen-rich blood is diffused into the tissues while the carbon dioxide-rich blood diffuse into the blood capillaries. These blood capillaries rejoin to form venules which direct oxygen-poor blood into the veins. Oxygen-poor blood from the trunk and hind limbs is drained into the inferior vena cava, and oxygen-poor blood from the head, neck, and forelimb are directed into the superior vena cava. The blood from the both inferior and superior vena cava is pumped into the right atrium where it is passed into the right ventricle. This blood is directed to pulmonary circuit as explained above. හරිද? ඔය තියෙන lesson note එක. Resource book එකේ note එක තමයි ඒ කිව්වේ. Right. Next one. Next topic. Structure and the function of the heart. Now this is the heart, human heart. Okay. Right. Now if we take human heart, what is the shape? It is roughly a cone shape. Right? Cone shape එක. දැන් lungs ගත්තාම ඒවා අපි කියන්නේ මොනවද? The lungs are paired. Right? දෙකක් තියෙනවා. Heart එක මොකද්ද? Heart එක එකයි තියෙන්නේ. දැන් kidneys ගත්තාම they are bean shaped. නේ? Bean shaped and it is again paired. Now heart, it is cone shaped and it is a muscular, hollow muscular organ. Right? Here in the heart wall, there are 3 layers of tissues. Pericardium, myocardium and endocardium. Then ඉස්සරහට ඉගෙන ගන්නවා female female reproductive system එකේ. එතකොට ඒකේ තියෙනවා metrium කියලා එකක්. myometrium එහෙම කියන්නේ. එතකොට මෙතන heart එක අහුවාම මෙතන ලියන්න එපා myometrium එහෙම කියලා. Right? Should be pericardium, myocardium, endocardium. Right? Now look at this figure. You can see the 3 layers. This is the epicardium, right? Then you can see myocardium and the endocardium. Here, pericardium, right? Not epicardium, pericardium, right? It is the outermost layer, right? පිටතම තියෙන එක මොකක්ද? pericardium එක. මෙතන epicardium නෙමෙයි pericardium, right? It is the outermost layer. හරිද? This pericardium, it is made up of 2 sacs. ඒකේ කොටස් දෙකක් තියෙනවා. හරිද? පළවෙනි ඒ කියන්නේ fibrous pericardium, serous pericardium කියලා දෙකයි. පිටින්ම තියෙන එක outer fibrous pericardium කියනවා. ඊට ඇතුලේ තියෙන එක අපි කියනවා inner serous pericardium කියලා. Right? හරිද? එතකොට මේ serous pericardium, fibrous pericardium මේ දෙකම හැදිලා තියෙන්නේ connective tissues වලින්. මෙතන දැන් පේන්නේ නැති. මෙතන pericardium ගත්තාම මේ තියෙන දුඹුරු පාටට තියෙන්නේ fibrous pericardium. ඊළඟට ඒ දෙක ඇතුලේ තියෙන ඒ දෙක අතර තියෙනවා මැද fluid එකක්. ඒ fluid එක තියෙන්නේ shock absorption කරන්න. shock එකක් ආව ඒ කියන්නේ මොකක් හරි එකක් shock absorption එකකට. හරිද? ඊළඟට තියෙනවා epicardium කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? serous pericardium එකට මේ දුඹුරු පාටින් තිබ්බ fibrous pericardium ඊළඟට මැද තියෙනවා fluid filled cavity එක ඊළඟට තියෙනවා epicardium. එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි ඒකට කියනවා serous pericardium කියලා. දෙවෙනි layer එක තමයි myocardium. Right? Myocardium, it is the middle layer. මේ තියෙන්නේ ඔයගලන් ලාරුස පාටට වගේ පේන්නේ. This myocardium, it is composed of cardiac muscle cells. Right? Cardiac muscle tissue එක තියෙන්නේ ඔන්න ඕකේ විතරමයි. වෙන කොහෙවත් මේ muscle tissue එක මේ muscle එක නැහැ. අනිත් තැන් වල තියෙන epithelial and smooth and skeletal muscles. Cardiac muscles තියෙන්නේ myocardium එකේ විතරයි. හරිද? මෙන්න මේ myocardium එකේ තියෙනවා ඊළඟට conducting fibers. ඊළඟට අපි ඉගෙන ගන්න යනවා conducting system. SA node, AV node එහෙම කියලා. heart එකේ ගත්තාම myocardium එකේ තමයි මේ fibers තියෙන්නේ. Right? These fibers, they transmit heart electrical signals. Okay? Then the innermost layer is the endocardium. ඇතුළෙන්ම තියෙන layer එක තමයි endocardium එක. Right? So it lines the chambers and the valves of the heart. Right? It is a smooth membrane. It is consist of flattened epithelial cells. මොනවද තියෙන්නේ? Flattened epithelial cells. Right? හරිද? Right. බලන්න. Human heart, it is roughly cone-shaped hollow muscular organ. Heart wall is composed of 3 layers of tissues: pericardium, myocardium, endocardium, right? Then pericardium. Pericardium is the outermost layer. It is made up of 2 sacs, outer fibrous pericardium, inner serous pericardium. හරිද? ඔය serous pericardium එකට තමයි අතන epicardium කියලා දාලා තිබ්බේ. Myocardium is the middle layer of the heart wall. It is composed of specialized cardiac muscle found only in the heart. Running through the myocardium is a network of specialized conducting fibers responsible for transmitting heart's electrical signals. Endocardium is the inner layer of the heart wall. It lines the chambers and valves of the heart. It is a smooth membrane and consists of flattened epithelial cells. It is continuous with the endothelium lining of blood vessels. හරිද? එහෙනම් heart එක මොකද්ද? කොයි විදිහේ shape එකක්ද? cone shape එකක් තියෙන්නේ. hollow and muscular. Right? What about the location of the heart? Location එක කොහොමද? Is it present in thoracic or abdominal cavity? Tell me quickly. Thoracic the abdominal cavity එකේ තියෙන මම එදා කියලා දුන්නා. Diaphragm එකෙන් බෙදෙනවා. උඩ ටිකට අපි කියනවා thoracic cavity. Thorax. පහළ ටිකට abdomen, abdominal cavity කියලා කියනවා. heart එක ඔයගලගේ කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ? Shavinda, where's your heart? In the thorax or in the abdominal cavity? Yes, heart is present in the thoracic cavity, right? Heart, it is present located in the thoracic cavity in between the 2 lungs. අපි කියනවා mediastinum කියලා. Right? lungs දෙක ගත්තාම එක lung එකක් අනිත් එකට වඩා චූටි. left lung එක ගත්තාම ඒක චූටි right lung එකට වඩා. ඇයි ඒ? මෙන්න මේ heart එකේ apex එක පොඩ්ඩක් අර ඇල වෙලා තියෙන්නේ අපේ වම් පැත්තට. තේරෙනවද? heart එක පොඩ්ඩක් වම් පැත්තට වෙන්න තියෙන්නේ. ඒ හින්දා because of that left lung is smaller than the right lung. In the right lung there are 3 lobes, but in the left lung there are only 2 lobes. So heart, it is present in the thoracic cavity between the 2 lungs, and it is a little more towards the left side. Okay. Right. Now the next thing, function. Now we are going to discuss about the functioning of the human heart. Right. You already know there are how many chambers in the human heart? There are 4 chambers. Right. There are 4 chambers. දැන් මෙන්න මේ පින්තූරේ අතින් ඇඳගෙන ලේබල් කරගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕනි. මේක මේ පාර එක්ක එක්සෑම් එකේ දෙයි. නැත්නම් මේ පාර නොදුන්නොත් ඊළඟ පාර එන්න පුළුවන්. හරිද? ගොඩක් කාලෙකින් මේක අහලා නැහැ. Structure of the heart and the blood pressure. ඒවා තමයි මේ පාර guess essays. ගොඩක් මේ circulatory system. මේ පාර ආවේ නැත්නම් 2024 එකට එන්න පුළුවන්. Right? So you should be able to draw this heart and you should be able to label this one. හරිද? ඔය තියෙන ඔක්කොම label කරගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕනි. Right. Now you can see here බලන්න. Right atrium එක තියෙනවා. හරිද? ඊළඟට right ventricle එක තියෙනවා. Right ventricle. ඊට පස්සේ left atrium, left ventricle. ඊට පස්සේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ දන්න මේ pulmonary artery. මේ තියෙන නිල් පාරට pulmonary artery. මේ ලොකුවට ඉන්නේ rubber tube එක වගේ aorta. මේ තියෙන්නේ superior වෙන කාව. හරි? anterior වෙන කාව, superior වෙන කාව. එයා ගේනවා blood කොහාටද? මේ මෙතන මේ හිලක් තියෙන්නේ උඩ. අන්න ඒකෙන් තමයි එයාගේ එන blood right atrium එක ඇතුළට වැටෙන්නේ. ඊළඟට ඇඟේ පහළ කොටසින් එනවා inferior වෙනකාව. එයාගේ එන blood මෙන්න මෙහෙන් තමයි heart එක ඇතුළට එන්නේ. ඊළඟට ඔයගලන්ට පේනවා අලුත් කට්ටියක්. tricuspid valve. මෙතන valves තියෙනවා. මෙතන තියෙනවා mitral, bicuspid. Bicuspid කියන්නේ ඒකේ cups දෙකයි තියෙන්නේ. මෙතන cups තුනක් තියෙනවා. ඊළඟට මේ තියෙන pulmonary veins. ඒගොල්ලෝ කරන්නේ oxygenated blood heart එක ඇතුළට දිනනවා. හරිද? ඊළඟට ඔයගලන්ට පේනවා pericardium, myocardium and the endocardium. මැද තියෙන එකට අපි කියනවා septum කියලා. right? septum. ඒකෙන් තමයි right and left කියලා දෙපැත්තට බෙදලා තියෙන්නේ. ඊට පස්සේ right. හරිද? So there are how many chambers? There are 4 chambers, right? 2 upper atria and 2 lower ventricles. Now ventricles, they have to pump blood to where? They have to pump blood to the whole body. Then right ventricle it pumps blood to the pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery blood කොහටද ගෙනියන්නේ lungs වලට. හැබැයි left ventricle එක ගත්තොත් එයා කෙලින්ම blood pump කරන්නේ කාටද? aorta එකට. aorta එකෙන් කරන්නේ මොකද්ද? මුළු ඇඟ වටේම blood බෙදනවා. එහෙනම් එයාගේ ඇතුලේ තියෙන ඒ ආටරි එක ඇතුලේ තියෙන ප්‍රෙෂර් එක ගොඩක් වැඩි වුණොත් නේද ඒ හොඳට බ්ලඩ් පම්ප් වෙන්නේ නේද? ප්‍රෙෂර් එක වැඩි වෙන තරමට මේ හොඳට පම්ප් වෙනවා නේද? නේද? කො කියන්න. ප්‍රෙෂර් එක වැඩි වෙන තරමට හොඳට පම්ප් වෙනවා. right? හරි. නිකන් කටපාඩමින් මේව මතක තියාගන්න ඕනේ ඔයගලන්ට. ඒ විදිහට තේරුම් ගන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙනම් ලොකු ප්‍රෙෂර් එකක් දෙන්න ඕන නම් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ඔයගොල්ලෝ දන්නවා ප්‍රෙෂර් එක දෙන්න තැන දැන් හිතන්න අර කෙමිස්ට්‍රි වලත් ඔයගොල්ලෝ ඉගෙන ගන්නේ ඉන්ඩස්ට්‍රියල් වලට ඉස්සරහට ඉගෙන ගන්නේ ප්‍රෙෂර් එකට විත්ස්ටෑන්ඩ් වෙන ඉක්විප්මන්ට්ස් හදන්න ඕනි නේද? එහෙම කියලා ඒවා බිත්ති මහතට තියෙන්න ඕනි. හරිද? එහෙනම් මෙන්න මේ ventricles ගත්තාම එතන ලොකු ප්‍රෙෂර් එකක් ඇති වෙන හින්දා atria වලට වඩා ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ බිත්ති මහතයි. හරිද? ඒක තේරෙනවා නේද? Ventricles, they have to pump blood to the whole body, right? But atria, they have to pump blood only to the ventricles. Therefore, the ventricles, the walls of the ventricles are much thicker than the walls of atria. And the next thing is, left ventricle, it has to pump blood to the aorta, right? Which pumps blood to the whole, like throughout the body. But right ventricle, it has to pump blood only to the lungs. Therefore, because of that reason, right, the wall of the left ventricle is much thicker than the right ventricle. Atria wala walls වලට වඩා ventricles වල walls thick. ඒ වගේම right ventricle එකේ wall එකට වඩා left ventricle එකේ wall එක thick. What is the reason? Why left ventricle wall is more thicker than right ventricle? Right? Send me the answer quickly. Why is it more thicker? Left ventricle. I'm talking about the left ventricle. එයාගේ walls තමයි ගොඩක්ම thick. ඇයි? Yes. Very good, Shavinder. Kitushan, what is your answer? The reason is, right, this left ventricle, it has to pump blood to the aorta, right, which pump blood throughout the body, right? හරිද? හැබැයි right ventricle, it has to pump blood to the lungs. lungs දෙක කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ? ඒක ළඟමයි තියෙන්නේ නේද? එතන ඒ වුණාට අරක තරම් ලොකු ප්‍රෙෂර් එකක් නැහැ. එහෙනම් aorta එකේ තියෙන blood කොහොමද ලොකු ප්‍රෙෂර් එකකින් එන්නේ? හරිද? right. Then the next thing is this heart, it is completely divided into right and left side by the septum. මේ interventricular septum එකේ මොකද්ද කරන්නේ? heart එක වම් පැත්ත දකුණු පැත්ත විදිහට සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම බෙදනවා. හරිද? ඊට පස්සේ මෙන් දැන් ඔන්න තියෙනවා වම් පැත්තේ atria ventricle තියෙනවා, දකුණු පැත්තේ atria ventricle තියෙනවා. මේ atria ventricle කියන දෙන්නව ආයෙත් ඒ කියන්නේ atrium ventricle කියලා දෙකට බෙදෙන්නේ මෙන්න මේ valves වලින්. මේ බලන්න එක පැත්තක tricuspid කිව්වා මම අනිත් එක bicuspid කිව්වා. Right? මේවට අපි කියනවා මොනවද? Atrioventricular valves because they divide atria and ventricles on each side. Right atrioventricular valve is called tricuspid because there are 3 flaps. Right? 3 flaps. So it is called tricuspid. And in the left hand side, it is called mitral valve or bicuspid because it has 2 flaps. Then here you can see this like so there are conical shaped capillary muscles, right? Those are the extensions of the inner wall. Then මේ පේනද noodles වගේ තියෙනවානේ ඔයගොල්ලන් පේනවද? නිකන් ඉරිකැලි වගේ පේනවා wall එක. අන්න ඕවා අපි කියනවා papillary muscles. They are the extensions of the inner walls. Inner wall of the heart, inner wall of the ventricles, right? Papillary muscles, they are the extensions of the inner walls of the ventricle, right? Hari. So these atrioventricular valves, they are attached to these papillary muscles, right? Papillary muscles වලට attached වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. හරිද? මොනවැන්ද attach වෙලා තියෙන්නේ? Fibrous cords වලින්. ඒවට අපි කියනවා chordae tendineae කියලා. Okay, sorry. Now heart, it is divided completely into right and left side by the interventricular septum. Then the atria and the ventricles on each side is divided by the atrioventricular valve, right? In the right side, there is tricuspid valve, right? දකුණු පැත්තේ තියෙන atrioventricular valve එකට අපි කියනවා tricuspid කියලා. There are 3 flaps. In the left side, atrioventricular valve is called bicuspid or mitral valve. Then there are conical shaped capillary muscles. Those are the extensions of the ventricles. These AV valves are connected to those papillary muscles through cords called chordae tendineae. Fibrous cords. Chordae tendineae කියන fibrous cords වලින් මේ valves මේ මොනවද papillary muscles වලට connect වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. හරිද? So they prevent the valves from turning inside out. ඒ කියන්නේ අනිත් පැත්තට ඇරෙන එක. ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් හිතන්න ඕගොල්ලන්ගේ දොරවල් ඇරෙන එක පැත්තක් තියෙනවානේ. අනිත් පැත්තට ඇරෙන්නේ නැහනේ. අන්න ඒ වගේ මේ valves උත් අනිත් පැත්තට ඇරෙන එක නවත්තන එක තමයි ඔන්න එකෙන් කරන්නේ. තේරුණාද? ඊළඟට semilunar valves කියලා જાතියක් තියෙනවා. මේ තියෙන්නේ semilunar valves. මෙන්න මේවට තමයි semilunar කියන්නේ මේ. right? Semilunar. ඒ මොකේද තියෙන්නේ? pulmonary artery එකේ. මේ aorta එකේ තියෙනවා semilunar valves. හරිද? Semilunar valves, right? They are found at the point where this pulmonary artery and aorta leave the right ventricle and the left ventricle respectively, right? So these valves, they prevent backflow of blood into the ventricles. හරිද? ඒගොල්ලෝ මොකද කරන්නේ? දැන් මේ pulmonary artery aorta වල pressure එක වැඩිනේ. ඔය blood ආපස්සට එන එක නවත්තන එක තමයි කරන්නේ. blood ආවෙන් පස්සේ දොර වහ ගන්නවා වගේ ඒගොල්ලෝ වහ ගන්න. හරිද? semilunar valves වල function එක තමයි they prevent the backflow of blood into the ventricles. Then these 2 pulmonary arteries, right, with oxygen poor blood, they leave the heart from the upper part of the right ventricle, right? Then 2 pulmonary veins from each lung. ඒ කියන්නේ pulmonary veins දැන් දකුණු පැත්තේ lung එකේ pulmonary veins දෙකයි, වම් පැත්තේ lung එකේ pulmonary veins දෙකයි, ඔක්කොම veins 4ක්, right? They bring oxygen rich blood back to the left atrium. හරිද? Then the aorta with oxygen rich blood, right, leave the upper part of the left ventricle. Then superior and inferior vena cava, they open into the right atrium and they empty their deoxygenated blood into the right atrium. Okay? And the heart, It is supplied with arterial blood by the right and the left coronary arteries. Heart එකට blood supply කරන artery එකට නම මොකක්ද? Coronary arteries කියලා තමයි කියන්නේ. තේරුණාද? We'll go through the lesson note now. There are 4 chambers in the heart, 2 upper atria and 2 lower ventricles. Ventricles have to pump blood to the whole body, whereas atria pump blood to the ventricles only. Therefore, walls of the ventricles are thicker than walls of atria. Walls of the left ventricle is thicker than walls of the right ventricle. Because of the right ventricle pumps blood, to the lungs which are closer to the heart, whereas the left ventricle has to pump blood throughout the body. Therefore, the blood entering the aorta from the left ventricle is at much higher blood pressure than the blood entering the pulmonary artery from the right ventricle. Then, this heart, it is completely divided into right and the left side by a septum. The atria and ventricles on each side are divided by an atrioventricular valve. The right AV valve has 3 flaps, hence known as tricuspid valve. And the left AV valve has 2 flaps, hence known as bicuspid valve. Conical shaped papillary muscles are extensions of the inner wall of the ventricles. AV valves attach to the papillary muscles by fibrous cords which are called chordae tendinae. AV valves are anchored by strong fibers. This prevents the valve from being turned inside out. Semilunar valves are found at the points where the pulmonary artery and aorta leave the right and the left ventricles respectively. These valves prevent the backflow of blood into the ventricles. Right? The pulmonary artery with oxygen poor blood leaves the heart from the upper part of the right ventricle. Two pulmonary veins divides into left and right pulmonary arteries and carries oxygen poor blood to the lungs. 2 pulmonary veins from each lung carry oxygen-rich blood back to the left atrium. The aorta with oxygen-rich blood leaves from the upper part of the left ventricle. The superior vena cava and inferior vena cava open into the right atrium and empty their contents into the right atrium. The heart is supplied with arterial blood by the right and the left coronary arteries, which branch from the aorta immediately after the aortic valve. So that is about the structure and the function of the human heart. Any doubts? The next thing is we have to start the conducting system. Any doubts about the structure of the heart? Right. Now we'll write down and we'll do an essay question. Harida, making heart again. Write down the question. Describe the structure and the function of the human heart. Describe the structure and the function of the human heart. Pinturet include when right? And you should be able to label this one. Make a label kerenoni. Then you have to explain the structure, right? The shape and the 3 layers. Then above the functioning of the heart. You have 15 minutes. විනාඩි 15ක් දෙන්න. Clear නික්මනට. You have to finish at 8. Quickly. First point, human heart is roughly cone shape. Roughly cone shape. That is the first point. Write down the marking scheme quickly. Second point, hollow muscular organ. Third point, heart wall is composed of 3 layers of tissues. Next point, pericardium. Next point, myocardium. Next point, endocardium. Next point, pericardium is the outermost layer. Pericardium is the outermost layer. Next point. It is made up of 2 sacs. It is made up of 2 sacs. Next point. Outer fibrous pericardium and next point. Inner serous pericardium. Next point. Myocardium is the middle layer of the heart wall. Next point. It is composed of specialized cardiac muscles found only in the heart. It is composed of specialized cardiac muscle found only in the heart. Next point. There is a network of specialized conducting fibers. There is a network of specialized conducting fibers that runs through the myocardium. Next point. It is responsible for transmitting the heart's electrical signals. Next point. Endocardium is the inner layer of the heart wall. Next. It lines the chambers and valves of the heart. Next point. It is a smooth membrane Next point. Consists of flattened epithelial cells. Next point. It continues with the endothelium lining of the blood vessels. Then the functioning of the heart. There are 4 chambers in the heart. Next point, 2 upper atria. Next point, 2 ventricles. Next point, ventricles have to pump blood to the whole body. Next point, atria pump blood to the ventricles only. Next point, therefore walls of the ventricles are thicker than the walls of the atria. Next point, wall of the left ventricle is thicker than the wall of the right ventricle. Next point, right ventricle have to pump blood to the lungs which are closer to the heart. Next point, left ventricle has to pump blood throughout the body. Next point, blood entering the aorta from the left ventricle is at a much higher blood pressure than the blood entering the pulmonary artery from the right ventricle. Next point. Heart is completely divided into right and left side by septum. Next point. The atria and ventricles on each side are divided by atrioventricular valve. Next point. The right atrioventricular valve is called tricuspid valve and it has 3 flaps. Left atrioventricular valve is called bicuspid valve and it has 2 flaps. There are conical shaped papillary muscles which are extensions of the inner wall of the ventricle. AV valves are connected to papillary muscles by fibrous cords called chordae tendineae. Next point. AV valves are anchored by strong fibers. Next point. It prevents the valve from being turned inside out. Next point. Semilunar valves are found at the points where the pulmonary artery and aorta leave the heart, leave the right and left ventricles respectively. Semilunar valves prevent the backflow of blood into the ventricles. Next point. Two pulmonary arteries, right? You can write down like this. Ventricle. Right ventricle pump blood into the two pulmonary arteries. Which, right? You can write down like this. Right ventricle pump oxygen poor blood into the pulmonary artery. Right? Two pulmonary arteries, they leave the heart from the upper part of the right ventricle to the lungs. Then, two pulmonary veins from each lung carry oxygen-rich blood back to the left atrium. Then, next point, left atrium pass oxygen-rich blood into the left ventricle. Next point, left ventricle pump blood, oxygen-rich blood into the aorta. The heart is supplied with arterial blood by the right and left coronary arteries, which branch from the aorta immediately after the aortic valve. The superior vena cava and inferior vena cava open into the right atrium and empty their content into the right atrium. Now, next one. Conducting system of the heart. Now this is here. Now the heart, it generates its electrical impulses, right? Electrical impulses. So so it do not it do not need any nervous regulation or hormonal regulation. Because they are electrical impulses generate karana. Right? Independently from nervous and hormonal regulation. It nervous nervous system parasympathetic, sympathetic nerves ඊට පස්සේ hormones තියෙන මේ ඔක්කොම කිසිම දෙයකට මත depend වෙන්නේ නැතුව heart එක යාගේ මොනවද electrical impulses generate කරනවා. ඒ වුණාට නිකන් අර යාට විතරක් අමුතු හැන්දෙන් බෙදන්න ඕනේ නෑනේ. හරිද? මේ heart එකට ඒව ඕනි නැති වුණත් this heart, it is supplied with both sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve fibers as well as, right, heart respond to number of hormones. Circulating hormones. Example, adrenaline, thyroxine, like that. Then, what is this conducting system of the heart? Now, there are small groups of specialized neuromuscular cells in the myocardium. They initiate and conduct impulses. Further, the conducting system, it is composed of three things. SA node. Maybe SA node. Sinoatrial node කියලා අපි කියනවා. Then AV node. මේ තියෙන AV node එක. This is the SA node. And this is the AV node. Third one is atrioventricular bundle. එහෙම නැත්නම් bundle of His. Right? මේ තියෙන bundle of His. ඊළඟට එක branch වෙනවා. ඒවට කියනවා bundle branches. ඊට පස්සේ මේ චූටි අතු කැලේ තියෙන ඒවට අපි කියනවා Purkinje fibers කියනවා. Conducting system කියන එකේ කොටස් තුනයි. Sinoatrial node, atrioventricular node, bundle of His, bundle branches and Purkinje fibers. මේ SA node or sinoatrial node, right? They are small mass of neuromuscular, specialized neuromuscular cells. Right? This SA node is present in the myocardium. අපි කලින් ඉගෙන ගත්ත myocardium එකේ තමයි මේවා තියෙන්නේ. මේ neuromuscular cells තියෙන්නේ. මේ conducting system එක තියෙන්නේ. Right? This SA node is present in the myocardium. What is the myocardium? It is the second layer of the heart wall. Present in the myocardium, of the right atrium. Right atrium again near the opening of the superior vena cava. Superior vena cava එකෙන් ගෙනල්ලා blood heart එක ඇතුළට අතාරින තැන තියෙන්නේ. අන්න එතන තමයි මේ sinoatrial node එක තියෙන්නේ. හරිද? මේ sinoatrial node, the function is it initiates the heartbeat. Heartbeat එක initiate කරනවා. And it set the rhythm of the heartbeat. එහින්ද මෙයාට අපි කියනවා it's called pacemaker. Initiate the heartbeat and set the rhythm of the heartbeat. හරිද? හැබැයි ඉතින් මීට අමතරව you know like the heartbeat, it can be varied by the stimulation of the autonomic nervous system as well as these hormones, adrenaline. So SA node, right? SA node, it is also called sinoatrial node. It is a small mass of specialized neuromuscular cells. It lies in where? In the myocardium near the opening of the superior vena cava. What is the function? It stimulates the contraction of the heart, right? Stimulus for the contraction of the heart. It originates in the SA node. It initiates the heartbeat and set the rhythm of the heart. So it is called pacemaker. But the heart rate, heartbeat, it can be varied because of the autonomic nervous system or because of the hormone like thyroxine, adrenaline, or due to the temperature. The next one is AV node, atrioventricular node. It is again a small mass of specialized neuromuscular cells. It is situated between the wall of the left and right atria. This AV node, it transmits the electrical signal from the atria into the ventricle. Atria එකේ තියෙන electrical signals ventricle එකට transmit කරන එක තමයි යාගේ function එක. කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ? It's situated between the wall of the left and the right atria, right? Close to the right atrioventricular vein. Then the third component of this conducting system, atrioventricular bundle branches and Purkinje fibers. This AV bundle is a mass of fibers, right? It starts from where? It starts from the AV node. Even you can see in the figure. AV node එකෙන් තමයි මේක පටන් ගන්නෙ. හරිද? This AV bundle, it crosses the fibrous rings that separate the atria and ventricles at the upper end of the ventricular septum, and it divides into right and left branches, right? Bundle branches දෙකකට බෙදෙනවා. හරිද? Then within the ventricular myocardium, ventricles මේ පේනවනේ. මේක අදින්න ගියාම atria එකේ හැම පැත්තෙම අදින්න එපා. Ventricular myocardium එකේ මොකද වෙන්නේ? These branches, they break up into small fibers. ඒවට අපි කියනවා Purkinje fibers කියලා. Purkinje fibers. හරිද? Right. The AV bundle branch into Purkinje fibers. These Purkinje fibers, they transmit the electric impulse from the AV node to the apex of the heart, right? Apex of the myocardium. So due to this impulse, wave of ventricular contractions begins, right? Now AV node, it transmits the electrical signal from the atria to the ventricle. And these AV, like bundle branches and Purkinje fibers, they transmit the electrical impulse from the AV bundle to the apex of the myocardium. Due to this, right, wave of ventricular contraction begins. This contraction sweeps upward and outward, pumping blood simultaneously. So that is the what happened in this atrioventricular bundle branches and Purkinje fibers. Again, there is a conducting system of the heart, right? Heart, it is myogenic. It is called myogenic because it has its own electrical impulses and it beats. independently of nervous and hormonal control, but it is supplied with both sympathetic, parasympathetic nerve fibers and heart respond to number of hormones like adrenaline, thyroxine. Then conducting system of the heart, it is consist of a specialized system. First one, SA node. Second one, AV node. Third one, atrioventricular bundle branches and Purkinje fibers. SA node or sinoatrial node, it is a small mass of specialized cells. It lies in the myocardium of the right atria near the opening of the superior vena cava. Right? This SA node is called pacemaker. Why? It initiates the heartbeat and set the rhythm of the heartbeat. Right? Then AV node, it is called atrioventricular node. It is also a neuromuscular, specialized mass of neuromuscular cells. It's situated in the myocardium between the wall of left and right atria. The function is AV node, it transmits the electrical signals from the atria into the ventricles. Then atrioventricular bundle branches and Purkinje fibers. Right? AV bundle, it is a mass of fibers. It starts from the AV node, right? Then AV bundle, it crosses the fibrous ring that separate the atria and ventricles at the upper end of the ventricular septum. Then it branch into left and right bundle branches. Then within the ventricular myocardium, those bundle branches, they branch into smaller fine fibers called Purkinje fibers. These AV bundle branches and Purkinje fibers, they transmit electrical impulse from the AV node to the apex of the myocardium. So as a result of that impulse, a wave of ventricular contraction begins. Right? So this contraction, it sweeps upward and outwards, pumping blood simultaneously into the pulmonary artery and the aorta. Right? That is how conducting system of the heart works. Right, we'll go through the lesson note. Within SA node, within heart එක තමයි boxes හතරකින් පෙන්නලා තියෙන්නේ. Right atrium, left atrium, right ventricle, left ventricle. Right atrium, you can see the SA node, then AV node, bundle branches, right? AV bundles start from the AV node, then it's divided into left and right bundle branches. Then they divide into smaller fibers called Purkinje fibers. Make a short note. Right. Heart generates its own electrical impulses and beats independently of nervous or hormonal control. However, it is supplied with both sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve fibers, which increase and decrease respectively the intrinsic heart rate. In addition to that, heart responds to a number of circulating hormones, including adrenaline and thyroxine. Small groups of specialized neuromuscular cells in the myocardium initiate and conduct impulses. The conducting system of the heart consists of following specialized system: SA node, AV node, atrioventricular bundle branches, and Purkinje fibers. SA node or sinoatrial node. It is a small mass of specialized cells. It lies in the myocardium of the right atrium near the opening of the superior vena cava. The stimulus for contraction of the heart originates in the SA node. The SA node initiates the heartbeat and sets the rhythm of the heartbeat, so it is called pacemaker. Right? In the exam, they can ask why SA node is called pacemaker. Because SA node, it initiates the heartbeat and set the rhythm of the heartbeat. Right? මේ දීලා දෙන වචනම පාවිච්චි කරන්න ඕනි. දැන් stimulate කියලා තිබ්බොත් ඒකට production එහෙම ඕගොල්ලෝ ලියලා හරියන්නේ නැහැ. Right? Stimulate නම් stimulate, initiate නම් initiate. දීලා දෙන විදිහට ලියන්න ඕනේ. Right? But the heart rate can be varied by the stimulation from the autonomic nervous system. Hormones and such as adrenaline, thyroxine, and temperature. AV node is a small mass of specialized cells. It is situated in the wall of the atrial septum, which is located between the left and the right atria. The AV node transmits the electrical signals from the atria into the ventricles. Then atrioventricular bundle branches, Purkinje fibers. AV bundle is a mass of specialized fibers. It originates from the AV node. The AV bundle crosses the fibrous rings that separate atria and ventricle at the upper end of the ventricular septum. It divides into right and the left bundle branches. Within the ventricular myocardium, the branches break up into fine fibers. These fine fibers are Purkinje fibers. The AV bundle branches and Purkinje fibers transmit electrical impulse from the AV node to the apex of the myocardium. As a result of this impulse, wave of ventricular contractions begin. Then the contraction sweeps upwards and outwards, pumping blood simultaneously into the pulmonary artery and aorta. හරිද? ප්‍රශ්න මුකුත් තියෙනවද? Any doubts? Any doubts? Right. Next one, cardiac cycle. හරිද? Cardiac cycle, it is the sequence of events that takes place during a complete heartbeat, right? So it includes pumping and filling of blood into the heart. So this complete cardiac cycle, it takes 0.8 second. කොච්චර කාලයක් තියෙනවද මේක? 0.8 second. එක cycle එක තප්පර 0.8යි. එතකොට ඒකේ stages තුනක් තියෙනවා. Atrial systole. Atrial systole කියන්නේ atria එක contract වෙනවා. හරිද? atria contract වෙනකොට මොකද වෙන්නේ? Ventricles වලට blood යනවා. හරිද? Ventricular contract systole. Ventricular systole means the contraction of the ventricles. Ventricles, when the ventricles contract, they pump blood into the pulmonary artery and the aorta. Then complete cardiac diastole means relaxation of the atria and the ventricles. Right. So at rest, healthy adult heart, right? The heartbeat rate of a healthy adult is 60 to 80 beats per minute. Minute තුවකට හරිද? Beats heartbeat කීයද? 60ක් 80ක් අතර ප්‍රමාණයක් ඇති වෙනවා. Healthy adult කෙනෙක්ගේ at rest, right? At rest. So during a single heartbeat, heart contracts and then relax. Contract වෙනකොට අපි කියනවා systole, relax වෙනකොට කියනවා අපි diastole. හරිද? So then the next thing is you should know what is stroke volume. Stroke volume means the amount of blood pumped into the ventricles during a single contraction. හරිද? ventricle වලට pump වෙන blood ප්‍රමාණයට අපි කියනවා stroke volume කියලා. Right, first thing we are going to learn about the complete cardiac diastole. Right. Right. Now this complete cardiac diastole, it lasts for 0.4 seconds. මිනිත්තු කොච්චරක් තියනවද? තප්පර 0.4. So during this complete cardiac diastole, I told you diastole means relax. So both the atria and the ventricles, they get relaxed during this diastole, complete cardiac diastole. Right? So they get relaxed and blood return to the heart. Again, inferior වෙන කාවා superior වෙන කාවා එකෙන් blood ගේනවා. pulmonary veins වලින් right atrium එකට blood ගේනවා. හරිද? ඊළඟට sorry superior වෙන කාවා inferior වෙන කාවකින් මොකටද blood ගේන්නේ? into the right atrium. pulmonary veins වලින් left atrium එකට blood ගේනවා. හරිද? එතකොට මොකද වෙන්නේ? දැන් මේගොල්ලන්ගේ blood පිරීලා atria වල. එහෙනම් ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ pressure එක වැඩි. නේද? ventricles වලට වඩා pressure එක වැඩි. එතකොට then atrioventricular valve open and some blood they flow passively through the ventricles. නිකන් අර ඉබේම යනවා වගේ කට්ටිය යනවා. ඇයි ඒ? නිකන් හිතන්න මොකක් හරි ලොකු එකක භාජනයක වතුර ගොඩක් පිරීලා ඒකේ චූටි හිලක් තියෙනවා කියලා. එතකොට මොකද වෙන්නේ? චුට්ට නිකන් අර කාන්දු වෙනවා වගේ යනවා නේද? අන්න ඒ වගේ දැන් මේ atria දෙකට inferior වෙන කාවා superior වෙන කාවා pulmonary veins වලින් blood පිරීලා atria වල pressure එක වැඩි. ඒ හින්දා මොකද වෙන්නේ? blood චුට්ටක් passively ventricles වලට යනවා. හරිද? ඊළඟට atrial systole. atrial systole කියන්නේ atria එක contract වෙනවා. right? So when blood flows into the atrium, what happens? This SA node, it gets stimulated, right? So SA node, it triggers a wave of contraction that spreads of the myocardium of the both atria, right? Therefore, the remaining blood in the atria, they flows into the ventricle and empty the atria. හරිද? එදෙන contract ලා මොකද වෙන්නේ? ඉතිරි වෙලා තියෙන blood ටිකත් ventricles වලට contract කරලා pump කරලා දානවා. So this lasts for 0.1 second. හරිද? 0.1 තරම් කාලයක් තමයි මේක තියෙන්නේ 0.1 second. Then the next one is ventricular systole. Ventricular systole. During ventricular systole, what happened is then SA node එක stimulate වුණානේ. දැන් එයාගේ impulse එක මොකද වෙන්නේ? AV node එකට එනවා. Right? AV node, it triggers its own electrical impulse and quickly spread to the ventricular muscle via the AV bundle branches, Purkinje fibers. So as a result of that, a wave of contraction sweeps upwards from the apex of the heart across the wall of the ventricle. So then the ventricles contract. When the ventricle contract, what happens? The pressure present inside the ventricle is higher than the pressure in the pulmonary artery and aorta. So blood flows into the pulmonary artery and aorta. Okay? හරිද? මොකද වෙන්නේ? දැන් ventricles වල pressure එක වැඩි. එහෙනම් අර semilunar valves ඇවිදලා pulmonary artery එකටයි aorta වලටයි blood යනවා. හරිද? So this lasts for 0.3 seconds. When the ventricles, they get relaxed, again the pressure falls, right? Those pulmonary and aortic valves, they get closed. ඒගොල්ලෝ වැහෙනවා. නැත්තම් මොකද වෙන්නේ? අර ඒවට පිරිච්ච blood ටික ආපස්සට එනවා. හරිද? So pressure within the pulmonary artery and aorta is more than, now the pressure within the pulmonary artery and aorta, it is more than the pressure within the ventricles. So these valves of the heart and great vessels, they open and close according to the pressure within the chambers of the heart. Right? You can understand that. හරිද? එතකොට ඔන්න ඕක තමයි එක cycle එකක් උනේ. මොකද්ද? inferior වෙන කාවා, superior වෙන කාවා, pulmonary veins වලින් heart එකට blood අරන් ආවා. ඒවා atria එකේ පිරුණා. atria එකෙන් ventricles වලට ආවා. ventricles contract වුණා. ඒ ටික pulmonary artery ආපහු aorta වලට මොකද කරන්නේ? pump කරා. ඉතින් ඔන්න එකකට අපි කියනවා මොකද්ද? cardiac cycle එකක් කියලා. තේරුණාද? තේරුණාද ඒක? right. දැන් බලන්න lesson note. Cardiac cycle refers to the sequence of events that takes place in a complete heartbeat. During this process, one complete cycle of pumping and filling of blood into the heart occurs. Complete cardiac cycle lasts for 0.8 seconds. It occurs as follows. Atrial systole, contraction of atria. Ventricular systole, contraction of ventricles. Complete cardiac diastole, relaxation of atria and ventricles. At rest, at rest ඔය වචන ගොඩක් they are so important. දැන් මේ දවස්වල අපි paper class එකේ මම දැකලා තියෙනවා වචන නැහැ. ඒක definitions වල එහෙම explain කරද්දී ඔය වචන අඩු වුණාම marks දෙන්නේ නැහැ ඉතින්. හරිද? At rest. එහෙනම් ඔක ලියද්දී at rest කියන එක ලියන්න ඕනේ. At rest, healthy adult heart is likely to beat at rate of 60 to 80 beats per minute. During a single heartbeat, the heart contracts systole and then relaxes diastole. During a single contraction, the amount of blood pumped by a ventricle is called the stroke volume. Complete cardiac diastole. This lasts for 0.4 seconds. Both atria and ventricles are relaxed and blood returns to the heart. The superior vena cava and inferior vena cava transport oxygen-poor blood into the right atrium. At the same time, as the four pulmonary veins bring oxygen-rich blood into the left atrium, the pressure of the atria is more than the pressure of the ventricles. Therefore, atrioventricular valves are open and some blood flows passively through to the ventricles. Atrial systole. When blood flows into the atria, SA node is stimulated. The electrical impulses generated in the SA node trigger a wave of contraction that spreads off the myocardium of both atria. Hence, the remaining blood in the atria flows into the ventricle, thereby emptying the atria. This lasts for 0.1 second. Next one, ventricular systole. Through the atrial muscles, the electrical impulses reaches the AV node. However, atrioventricular transmission is delayed at the AV node. This allows the atria to finish emptying into ventricles before ventricles start to contract. After this delay, AV node triggers its own electrical impulses, which quickly spread to the ventricular muscle via the AV bundle, the bundle branches and Purkinje fibers. This results in a wave of contraction which sweep upwards from the apex of the heart across the wall of the ventricle. As a result, both ventricles contract. The pressure in the right ventricle is more than the pressure in the pulmonary artery, and the pressure in the left ventricle is more than pressure in the aorta. Therefore, pulmonary valve and the aortic valves open and blood flows into the pulmonary artery and aorta respectively. The high pressure generated during ventricular contraction forces the atrioventricular valves to close, preventing backflow of blood into the atria. Ventricular systole lasts for 0.3 seconds. When ventricles relax, the pressure within them falls. The pulmonary and aortic valves close. Pressure within the pulmonary artery and aorta is more than the pressure within the ventricles. These valves of the heart and great vessels open and close according to the pressure within the chambers of the heart. The sequence of opening and closing of valves ensure that blood flows only in one direction. හරිද? දැන් කියලා කියෙව්වේ මම note එක resource එකේ note එක. හරිද? මොන හරි තේරෙන්නේ නැති තැන් තියෙනවද? තේරෙන්නේ නැති තැන් තියෙනවද? Any more doubts? Kitushan and Shavinda? Oh, right. So, yeah, that's it. So today we learned, again, I revised why we need circulatory system, substances transport in circulatory system, then two major types of circulatory system found in the animal kingdom, open and closed. Then we learn about the single circulation, double circulation, basic plan of human circulatory system, structure and the function of the heart, and then the conducting system and the cardiac cycle. We have to learn about the electrocardiogram, blood grouping, blood pressure, coronary circulation, then respiratory pigments, and yeah, that's it. So next day I will complete those parts and I'll start respiratory system. Okay.